All right, everybody, we are back in the haunted sauna. If you don't know why it's haunted, then you're not watching enough JT's horror discussions. Go back through the 200 plus videos and find out where that originated from. But let's talk A Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven, classic film from 1984. Freddy has become such a just cultural icon ever since this movie. And I think it's harder for like people who weren't around when this movie came out. Like this movie came out a few years before I was born. And I remember the first time I saw this movie, I was probably 8, 9 years old, probably like eight-ish or so. And by that time, there was at least a few sequels out, so it already started going down the more comedic route. But for people who saw this in the theaters, like when it first came out, like Freddy must have been fucking terrifying. Like he didn't have any of his one-liners back for this movie and the second one. Like he didn't start getting comedic with his little one-liners until maybe the next one, Dream Warriors. But he's absolutely terrifying in this. Not the most terrifying Freddy. That's in my favorite one, which if you watch enough, you know which one of these is my favorite. And the score in this movie is absolutely amazing. Like the score is so haunting, it sounds like you're in a nightmare. So they did a phenomenal job with the score. I forgot who composed it, but excellent job. Like it fits the movie so well. And then we open up, we see Freddy working on his glove and working in the boiler room. Now, it says on the Tubi description that it mentions that he's a pedophile. Now, that didn't come into play until the remake in 2010. So it's kind of annoying that that's on the description for the first Nightmare on Elm Street when he was never called a pedophile in this movie. He just killed a bunch of children, which we find out in the second movie that he killed 20 children. So there's no mention of him being a pedophile. That didn't come to the abysmal reboot. So it was just interesting that they had that in the description for this first movie. But Tina ends up having her first dream, and I just love how they go so seamlessly between the dreams and reality in this movie. And they do that a decent amount throughout the series, but something about this first one, they just nail it. Like every time that a character, especially when Nancy and stuff, falls asleep and then just wakes up, you know she's dreaming, but it's just done so seamlessly. Like it just goes from reality to dream world and back to reality, and handled so well in this movie. I mean, like I said, they do it well in a lot of the entries in this. I feel like they do it the best in this one, like without a doubt. And then I said this in my Puppet Master fucking video, one of them, that the whole one of the characters' parents maybe or something like that says, "Hold your horses." We got to retire this phrase. Nobody rides fucking horses for transportation anymore. Like nobody. The only people who ride horses are people who do it professionally or just people on ranches that own horses. No one's riding around to get places on a horse. So the whole phrase of "hold your horses," we can throw that out. We need a new phrase. We have "pump your brakes." Why isn't that used more often? We're all driving automobiles now today. That should be the saying, always use, not "hold your horses." And the whole song of 1-2, Freddy's Coming for You with the jump rope girls is just iconic at this point. It's so creepy. Even on the millionth watch of this movie, it's still so effective. It's so creepy sounding. The girls hopping, doing the jump rope, they look creepy. Something with just kids in horror movies always look fucking very, very terrifying for some reason. And we have Johnny Depp in his first film role here, and you could pretty much tell that he was going to be a star just from this movie. Like, it's not like he's doing anything amazing in his performance in here. I don't know. You can just tell looking at him that this guy's going to go on to do better things. And then he went off to do better things. And then he went off to just have a fucking amazing career, which Like, God bless Wes Craven for casting him in this. And then we have Tina and Rod fucking while Nancy and Glenn are staying over for the night because she's been having the nightmares, Tina, and they want to be there for her. That's annoying as shit. Like, if you've ever stayed somewhere with friends and you hear like a couple of your friends fucking in the room next to you, that's so distracting. Like, you can't go to sleep. I think I've mentioned this in a video. Who knows? It all blends together at this point. Pretty sure I mentioned that, but it is very distracting. Like, it's very hard because then you start going through like your fucking highlight reel, and then shit, now I'm awake. I got a fucking hard on. What the hell am I supposed to do? It's never a good thing. So people who go on trips with your friends and stuff, don't fuck loudly in a room next to or anywhere that they can hear you, because it's just going to keep them up and it's going to piss them off for aforementioned reasons. And I love Tina's little line to Rod saying, "Jungle Man fixed Jane." For some reason, that always makes me laugh hysterically. And then we have Tina's other dream while she's sleeping with Rod. And just Freddy's look when you see him for the first time, like his full face for the first time, like the fog behind him, looks so awesome. And his run is just great too. When he starts chasing after her and he just like the wild arms while he's running after her. Awesome, awesome stuff. And he cuts his fingers off when he just goes bloop and his fingers come flying off. I'd be fucking terrified of this guy too. Like, I don't know anyone who has dreams or nightmares of Freddy Krueger and doesn't know anything about him wouldn't be fucking terrified. Like, he really is effective at this. And I'm pretty sure, if memory serves me, that Craven has said in the past that he got the idea for this whole story from, I forgot where it was, somewhere in Korea maybe? Or somewhere in Asia, something like that. But there was stuff in the news about a few kids that were dying in their sleep. And they were afraid to go to bed and afraid to go to sleep, and then they would end up dying. And he saw these news articles, and he ended up thinking up the idea of Freddy and thinking up the whole plot for this movie, which is pretty interesting. I never really looked up on those cases, but that's something I'm actually kind of interested in doing now that I think about it. And just awesome stuff when she pulls his face off and it's just a skeleton underneath. Now I wonder if she woke up during this, like how Nancy wakes up later and like takes his hat, Freddy's hat, out of the dream into reality. If Tina would have woken up here, would she have his fucking face that you ripped off of him, like in her hands? Always wondered that. Like, if she just would have woken up somehow, or if Rod woke her up right after she did that, would she have his fucking skin of his face in her hands? Something to ponder. But very interesting nonetheless. And then just her kill, man, is so fucking good. Like, I'm pretty sure they used like a rotating room, and I know they did for Glenn's kill later in the movie. But pretty sure they had a room on like some sort of mechanism that turned the room around and stuff while she's being dragged up the side of the wall and then on the ceiling. And it looks so good. Even today, like it holds up so well. It looks absolutely amazing. And then she's dead. And then we have John Saxon in here, who I fucking love him and everything. And Nancy's in the police station with him. He's the sheriff. Why is it always sheriffs in these movies? I guess because I'm from New York. We don't have really sheriffs, like upstate New York, yeah, but where I'm from, Long Island, it's all police department and stuff. So I guess it makes sense. It's just like all these horror movies that have sheriffs of the town and stuff. You don't just see like a regular police force. Like, it's rare. Like, you always see a sheriff department. In the Halloween movies and stuff. But like I said, those are all in like much more rural, small towns. So it makes sense. Just an observation. So Rod is on the lam and running for his life because he's getting pinned with this fucking thing. Like, there's no way around it. Like, this guy is getting pinned for this murder. He's the only one in the room. Then I like how, I don't remember his name, but John Saxon, the father, how he pretty much uses Nancy to get to Rod. That he knows that she's going to meet up with him at some point, and she does, and his plan works out. And she's pissed. She fucking looked like, you fucking used me. I don't know if she said fucking. There's a few fuckings in this movie, right? Yeah, I remember Nancy saying it near the end. But yeah, so they end up arresting Rod, so he's going down. Then we have a young Lin Shaye as the teacher here, who I always forget is in this movie. Every single time I rewatch this, I say, all right, that's Lin Shaye. I forget that she's in this. Literally every time I watch this movie. And it makes sense because I was just reading about it on Wikipedia real quick. I never knew that the producer of this movie is Lin Shaye's brother. So that makes absolutely sense. Absolutely sense? Absolute sense that she was cast in this small role. Because I'm not sure what she did before this. But I think it's a safe bet to say that she got this little role in this part because her brother was the producer for this. But always good seeing Lin Shaye. Reminds me that I have to still do the rest of the Insidious movies. So those will be coming. I talk about that. And just Nancy's dream in class when she sees Tina in the body bag. And just the shot of her on the floor, then her legs lifting up in the body bag and being dragged in the little trail of blood. That's such a great shot. That is such a good shot. I love that. And now I'm just realizing, I think this is the first Wes Craven film that I've covered on this channel. Pretty sure. I've done the Wishmaster movies, and the first one was executive produced by Craven. Yeah, this is the first Wes Craven movie I've covered. That's kind of crazy. And just the hall monitor that asks for a hall pass, then it turns into Freddy. Just awesome. Like, all the dream sequences are so well done in this movie. And in a lot of the series. But like, this series for me falls off after Dream Warriors. Like 4 or 5 and Freddy's Revenge, or not Freddy's Revenge, Freddy's Dead. They have their moments, but the first 3 are the best in this franchise, like without a doubt. But every dream sequence in this movie is so well done, so effective. And we have the boiler room chase. And the boiler room just looks awesome too in this movie. It's such a creepy setting. It's so effective. And I like how it links back to where Freddy worked. And do we find out in this one? No, I think it's in the second one that Freddy worked at the power plant. And that was the boiler room he was always in. And that he took the kids to, that he killed. Pretty sure it was, we don't find those details out until the next one. I know the mom starts saying that they killed Freddy and everything, but I don't think they mention him working at the power plant. But she ends up burning her arm on the pipe to wake herself up, which smart, man. Like, I did a top 10 Final Girls list stream with Al Lucard a month or 2 ago, and Nancy definitely was on that list. I don't remember where. Maybe the top 5, maybe like 5th place or something like that. But she is one hell of a final girl. Like, she puts up one hell of a fight against Freddy at the end of this movie, for sure. And then they go to visit Rod in jail. And then the whole scene with Nancy in the tub, when she starts falling asleep, and you know she's falling asleep, and you know that Freddy's coming somehow, and then you just see the glove come up right between her legs and go to reach for her, and then the mom knocks on the door. Such another great fucking iconic shot. Like, there are so many awesome shots in this movie. And the directing is just phenomenal by Craven. Like, awesome throughout the whole thing. And then we have the Evil Dead playing on to TV that Nancy's watching, which I don't know if you're having like all these wicked nightmares about Freddy Krueger, that Evil Dead is the movie I'd pick to like watch when I'm falling asleep. But there's like a whole, and I mentioned this in my Evil Dead videos, there's a whole like back and forth that was going on back then with Sam Raimi and Craven. I forgot how it starts. I think Hills Have Eyes came out, and then when Raimi did Evil Dead, you see the torn poster in the basement of Hills Have Eyes. Then in this movie, Craven put in the Evil Dead on the TV. And it went back and forth like that for a little bit. So it's cool seeing that both directors were having fun, like putting each other's work in their films. Cool stuff. And then they go to the police station to check on Rod. and he gets hung by Freddy, and that looks awesome too. Like, even though it's an easy effect to pull off, but just with the sheets wrapping around his neck and hanging him from the bars, and then they come and they try to get him off, and they finally get his body free and they bring him to the ground, and you think the first time you see this, like, oh, maybe they saved him. Nope, Rod is dead. And then we go to his funeral, and then Nancy goes for the sleep study in the institute, which I looked at the name because I was wondering, since I just saw Freddy vs. Jason like 2 months ago when I did all the Friday the 13th movies, and I think it's Weston Hills is the name of the institution that the two main characters in that go to. It's definitely not Weston Hills in this. So I wondered if they even bothered to look back at this when they did Freddy vs. Jason and say, oh, let's use the name from the original Nightmare that she went to have the sleep studies done. But they didn't. So it's some Ortega, like something like that, like something that's not at all like Weston Hills. So completely different place. And this is where Nancy ends up pulling the hat into reality, and nobody thinks this is strange at all. Like, not one person. The doctor's there. They don't think, like, where the fuck she get this hat from. Like, I'm sure that she's in a hospital gown. I'm sure that they took her belongings and everything, held on to them before she got in that bed to do the studies. Nobody says where the fuck she get that weird hat from. She ain't wearing this hat. Whose hat is this? Where'd it come from? Nothing. We get nothing of this. Like, funny stuff. And then we get Nancy's mom telling her everything about Freddy and saying that they all banded together, the parents of Elm Street, and after he killed the 20 children, that they just ended up burning him alive. And now the children have to pay for the sins of their parents. And just putting the bars on the windows, I can see it from a parental point of view. But as Nancy, what a dick move for her mom to do. Like, that is such a dick move. And then later, when she's trying to get out to go help Glenn, and she's like, give me the keys, and like the mom's drunk on the couch. She's like, no, it's locked. I had to lock everything up. And like, I don't even have the key to give you. I'd be furious in that scenario, which she is. I'd be a lot more furious. Like, if that's your boyfriend across the street, and you know that he's about to be fucking killed by Freddy, sorry, Mom. I might be fucking smacking her in the face with that key. I really might. Depends how I was as Nancy and how strongly I felt for Glenn. That might be a situation where I'd hit my mother in the face. Not hard, you sick fucks, but a few slaps across the face. She's drunk, 3 sheets to the wind. She ain't gonna feel it or remember it anyway. So you're in the winning position. Why not? Like, at least she could have maybe saved Glenn. Then they mentioned that Freddy was let go because of a search warrant that was mishandled or something. I think this is the only time we hear about this. But I forget what they say. That if it was just they didn't have a search warrant, or if it was just mishandled, or like wasn't signed properly, something like that. But that's the reason that Freddy didn't get taken into prison, sent to prison and stuff, and taken in, was because of some issue with the search warrant. And then she says she's going 7 days without sleeping, that this is her 7th day without sleep. Get the fuck out of here. After 2 days, 3 tops, without sleeping at all, sleep deprivation is going to kick in so hard. She's going to be hallucinating like crazy. And the fucking coffee, that's not going to help you. Trust me. I'm an insomniac. I don't sleep much. You can have all the coffee in the world. After 3-4 days of no sleep, I don't care how much coffee and fucking whatever the hell that is, the pills that she's popping, the stay awake or whatever, all it is caffeine usually in those type of pills. There is no amount of caffeine on the planet that's going to keep you awake. After 4 days, 3-4 days without sleeping. Just doesn't happen. It's not going to happen. So that's a little ridiculous. And then I love Glenn's dad when they're standing outside looking across the street at Nancy's house and says like, oh, there's something wrong with that girl, and like, I don't want him hanging around our son anymore. And then I love when Nancy calls And the mom picks the phone up. She's trying to be as nice as possible. And she's like, oh yeah, what's this regarding? And then like puts this into the phone and mutes it against herself and says, oh, she wants to talk to Glenn. And like he just picks the phone up. He's like, Glenn's asleep. You're gonna have to talk to him tomorrow. And just, I love that. So funny. I laugh every time with that. And then we get she pulls the phone cord out of the wall, and then it rings again after that, which again, like sleep deprivation. At this point, she wouldn't know if that's really Freddy or if that's just a hallucination that she's having from not sleeping. So it's cool though how that it works for the film. Like it really does. Like once you hear that line that she hasn't slept for 7 days, so it's like, all right, well, a lot of this makes a lot more sense. And you can even argue that she was just incredibly sleep deprived. And none of this really happened with Freddy. I mean, obviously that's not what happened, but you could make an argument for that for sure. You could say that she was having all these crazy dreams of this Freddy guy. And then she ended up just staying awake, so terrified to go to sleep, that she hallucinated the whole ending of the movie. Like, you can definitely make that argument, even though it's obviously not at all what was intended or what actually happens, but you can make that argument for sure. And then Glenn's death, fucking amazing. I will never forget the first time I saw this movie. That's the scene that stuck with me the most. Just seeing him get pulled into the bed and the TV falling into, and then just the geyser of fucking blood shooting out of the bed up into the fucking ceiling. And they also used a rotating room. And it looks magnificent. Like, it still to this day looks so fucking good. Like, what a great kill that is. Like, come on, really? It looks so good. And then how it's just, when it hits the ceiling, how it's just like pluming to the sides. Awesome. And then the mom's reaction is great too. Like, I bitch a lot on here about people's reactions and stuff, like in movies. Perfect reaction. She reacts so fucking terrified and so grossed out and so confused of like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, what the hell's going on? Where's my son? And you're seeing just gallons upon, like hundreds of gallons of fucking blood shooting out of his bed up into the ceiling. And there's no explanation. She plays it so well with her reaction to that. I love her reaction. And then we get Home Alone Nancy. And she starts booby trapping the house, which again, smart fucking thinking. Like, you don't see many final girls doing shit like this. She fucking booby traps her whole house. And then before she goes to bed, you hear her saying the Lord's Prayer, you know, lay me down to sleep and take my soul, whatever the fuck. I'm not religious. But you hear that so often in movies. There are a lot of other prayers, right? Like, it's like they use that in so many movies. And I get it. It's because of the context and what's said in the prayer relates to what's going on. But I'd like to hear different prayers. Like, I'm sick of hearing that same prayer. Like, still to this day, you hear that prayer all the time in horror movies. Go outside the box. Do something different. We heard the Lord's Prayer enough. Then she pulls Freddy out of the dream, and it's a cool little jump scare. Like, this is back when some jump scares were pulled off right. And that one was awesome. When she thinks for a second that she failed in bringing him out, and then he just jumps out from behind the bed. Awesome stuff. Like, looks so cool. And then he gets lit on fire, and then her whole calling for help thing is hilarious. Like, when she's fucking screaming through the window for her dad, and it's just one of the other deputies there, and she's like, they hear what she's saying. She's just across the street. Like, it's not like he can't hear what she's saying. And she's saying, calling for help and stuff like that. He's like, it's all right, just go to bed and stuff. Fuck you, motherfucker. And that's what she says, basically. She's like, go get my father, you bastard, or some shit like that. He doesn't hear her screaming like that and doesn't know what she's saying. Come on. Like, he absolutely heard her. He just didn't want to do his fucking job and go investigate what's going on. That's exactly what happened. But then he ends up going to get the father. And then John Saxon just gets to see shit that he can't even comprehend when they go up into the mother's room and Freddy's burning on top of, which is another great fucking shot, with Freddy on top of the mother and he's on fire and the flames on him, and then the mom ends up like as a skeleton and starts sinking down into the bed. awesome stuff. Looks so cool. All the stuff in this movie, like to this day, still hold up. Still looks so great. The directing is so good in this. The editing is so good in this. The way the film looks is just has such a surreal feel to it. Like, this is just one of those timeless movies that they're always going to be amazing. Like, there's never going to be a time watching A Nightmare on Elm Street that someone says, it's too dated, it's too old. Nope. Like, it's always going to be a classic, and for absolute good reason. And the whole way that she kills, or quote unquote kills Freddy in this, I always felt like they had a problem with all the endings in this series on how to kill Freddy off at the end. Because the whole I take back all my energy that I ever gave you, and that's what like destroys him, is fucking stupid. I'm sorry, but it is. Like, that is such a stupid fucking way to end the movie and to get rid of Freddy. Same with the second movie and the third movie. Like, I haven't seen the fourth, fifth, and sixth in a while, but all the ways that they destroy Freddy at the end of the movies, to my knowledge and memory, are just stupid. Like, it's like they had a problem finishing, like Stephen King has an issue with his endings for movies. That's like how it is with Freddy, like killing him off at the end of each movie. I take back all the energy I gave you. Really? Like, I mean, I get it. I mean, it's a fucking nightmare and everything. It's a dream, and I get the whole thing. It's just stupid to me. Like, it always has been. And I mean, I can't think of something right now, but I'm sure if you gave me a little bit, I would have come up with something a lot better than that. And then I laugh every time at this. And is this all a dream? Because the ending is so ambiguous, which I love about it. But she has all her friends back. Glenn and Rod and Tina are all back and stuff. Her mom's alive. So was the whole movie a dream? Or did everything really happen up until her last, battle with Freddy at the end? And up until she said, I take all my energy that I ever gave you away. And then he got destroyed, and then things just reset. Never understood it. Like, I guess you can read into it that way, or both ways, that just at the end when she says that line and takes all the energy from him, that's when the nightmare ends for her. But like, they're in reality then, aren't they? Because she took him out of the dream. So that was reality that he was in. So I don't know. Like, I've never understood the ending to this movie. I don't think it's supposed to be thought into like that much, which goes against a lot of the shit that I do all the time, is looking into things way too much. But who knows? I don't think the whole movie was a dream, but in that case, I don't know how any of that works. Like, or what was a dream and what wasn't. And that's what I mean when I was saying earlier about it just being so seamless with the dreams and reality and blending them together, that by the end of this movie, you don't know what really happened and what didn't, for the most part, which is awesome. But I always crack up at this. Like, her mom is portrayed in this as a complete alcoholic. Like, an absolute alcoholic. To the point that she has bottles hidden in the fucking closet. All of that. She's fucking passed out drunk like every night. And then when Nancy leaves to get in the car with her friends at the end, she just says, I think I'm going to give up drinking. I just don't feel like it anymore. Dude, that is fucking hysterical. Like, come on, man. Like, no one just quits drinking like that. I mean, I'm not saying it's never happened or it doesn't happen, but it is so rare. Like, alcoholism is a disease, just like fucking drug addiction. People don't just wake up and say, you know what, I don't feel like it no more, I'm done. Like, yeah, that lasted until that night when she was getting drunk again. Like, no way that she just doesn't feel like it anymore and just stops drinking. And then we have the car convertible top as Freddy's sweater come over the car, which awesome stuff. And then we hear the 1-2, Freddy's coming for you. And see the jump rope people again. Jump rope people, the jump rope girls. And then the mom gets pulled through the window of the door by Freddy's arm. And Of course, it's so obviously a fucking dummy, but it still looks cool. But it always sticks out in my mind whenever I see that at the end. It's like, oh, they could have done a little better with that. But it is what it is, and this is a fucking classic in every way, shape, and form. Who doesn't love A Nightmare on Elm Street? Who's a horror fan? I don't know anybody. So that's a testament right there to how amazing this movie is, how amazing Wes Craven is for thinking of this whole concept and bringing us Freddy Krueger. And I will be moving on to Freddy's Revenge, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 in a second. So see you guys there.